right, man. The Lions drafted Tate Ratledge out of Georgia and moved up in the second round, 3 spots. I think they gave up a 4th, along with their 60th overall pick. They returned a 7th rounder. I get it. I mean, I was listening to Corey Woods kind of talk. Like I said, I'm out of touch with the draft, so I ain't gonna lie to you. I just didn't really care for. I don't really care for sports right now. It's just like, other than the Pistons, like, I might start watching the Tigers, maybe doing some Tiger coverage a little bit. But yeah, man, I get it. Corey Woods made a good point on Instagram when he said that, you know, it's rumors that they can cut Reader. Reader might be on his last leg. Malik McNeil, a guy that big, you can't really bank on him coming back to give you anything, to be real. And I'm just keeping it real. You can't bank on him to come back and give you much. Year 1 coming off the ACL surgery at that height, or at that weight, excuse me. So really, they really banking on Anzarike, Makai Wingo, DJ Reader for right now. And really, they didn't have a lot of future when they drafted the kid out of Ohio State, Talik, whatever his name is. So they need to add depth at that position. And kind of, even with this draft pick with Tate Ratledge, they're probably kind of admitting that they maybe made some draft mistakes, and they all do. Broderick Martin probably ain't working out the way they thought they were. Remember, they drafted a couple guards. That was the crazy thing about taking the guard. They drafted Manu dude. He was supposed to come in to be a guard. Corey Sorsdale was another guy that was a tackle at a lower level college. They moved him to guard. So you have to start to ask yourself, what happened with Sorsdale and what happened with Manu? Do they now project Manu to be more of a tackle? Because you going out there getting this Ratledge guy, it's kind of telling you that maybe they just see Sorsdale and Manu, if they really go, and how great of an athlete Manu, they said Manu was. In my opinion, I would think he would be a tackle. So my thing is this. This is my assumption with the pick. I think Manu is probably going to project to be a tackle. I think they're going to start putting start playing him at tackle. If he that great of an athlete, he ain't going to put him at guard. Ratledge, he going to take over from Graham Glasgow at some point, right? And then, obviously, I think they plan on Mahogany plugging in that left guard. Now, me personally, I thought they was going to go with a veteran offensive lineman at guard. That's what I thought. Because they have a lot of youth. They have the African dude behind them, Asukuk. He does a solid job. Skipper kind of been playing the tackle position. He can play guard. He's a utility guy. But when I looked at Sorsdale and Manu, I'm like, okay, why would they draft another young guard? And my theory is they probably going to play Manu at right tackle, and then they probably gonna kick Penisa Will eventually to left tackle. That's my assumption. There's nothing factual about it. I'm just giving an educated guess, a hypothesis. So that's the only thing that makes sense to me. Because you have a plethora of young guards. Either you admitting that Sorsdale's not that good, we don't trust him to start. And to me, it just seemed premature on Manu. I'm thinking that Manu's going to kick the right tackle as in a few years. They're going to continue to prepare him to play right tackle. And I think in the guard position, Mahogany and Ratledge is going to be your guys to guard. But like I say, picking Ratledge made a lot of sense in my opinion, because I feel like if Mahogany don't get it, you can put Ratledge in there. You don't have to really depend on Sorsdale and Manu just yet. So, to me, it made a lot of sense. You're talking about everything has to be perfect around Jared Goff. So, for the most part, they just in this draft, they adding depth. They're not adding difference makers. They not adding guys that's going to come in and make an impact. They're legitimately adding difference makers. They're adding depth right now. And I was having a conversation with one of my coworkers, and he was like, the Lions got to do something to get better, and they haven't got better. And they haven't. I cannot look at this roster this year and say, well, they got better. No. So expectations need to be tempered this year, in my opinion. And I'm going to talk about this in another video. I think they're banking on, probably at the end of their draft, if they don't make no trade, they're banking on us being. It's always the cheap route with the Lions, and I'm gonna get into Tate Ratledge in a second. It's always the cheap route with the Lions, but this is what they're banking on. If we were healthy last year, we would have went to the Super Bowl. That's what they're banking on. I'm telling you, if we were healthy last year, we would have went to the Super Bowl. So they're not gonna make any. Don't count on no Trey Hendrickson trade. The best thing you can count on is them bringing Za'Darius Smith back. That's the best thing you can count on. So for the most part, I'm telling you right now, I would temper my expectations in 2025 because just because you come in and if you was healthy the next year, it doesn't mean that teams won't get better and pick up your schemes. So I say that after the draft, right? But Ratledge, he's from everything I read, he's 6'6", love it. 6'6", explosive guard. Short arms is why he played guard and not tackle. Explosive, violent. He has a mean streak. He's nasty. He's a Dan Campbell pick, and the reason he failed in the draft to the second round because he was Georgia's highest projected offensive lineman coming to the year. He had an injury. I think he had an ankle injury. So guess what? Doesn't that align with the Holmes Campbell regime? Injury prone. We're coming off an injury. It never fucking fails. They consistently pick guys that's beat up and injured. I don't understand. I get it, him telling the story about his cracks and this shit, but god fucking damn, dude. Excuse my language. Last year, all the guys you invested in, that had injury-prone problems like Marcus Davenport, that shit became infectious, dude. And everybody else started getting injured. Everybody else started fucking getting injured. So that's the hilarious thing about it to me. Everybody else started getting in, but other than that, he gave up 7 pressures this year, and that's not a bad number by Pro Football Focus, but he had an ankle injury. But his whole college career, he only gave up 3 sacks. He only gave up 3 sacks his whole college career. So you got to think about it. His senior year was plagued with injuries. His senior year was plagued with injuries. And he still only gave up 3 sacks his whole career. So, we're playing with an ankle injury. It ain't easy to play with an ankle injury. I'll tell you that right now. It ain't easy to play with an ankle injury. Flat out. That shit ain't easy. It ain't easy, man. So, I like the pick, to be honest. I don't know the guy, but just reading everything about the guy, I like the pick. In my opinion, it makes a lot of sense. If you don't believe in and you don't believe in Sorsdale or Manu to be a guard right now, you get an elite violent offensive lineman that that's explosive, that's twitchy, that can you can pull, and he can get out in front and make something happen. I mean, Mahogany, and Ratledge is the future. The only question is, at what point do you start looking at the future for Frank Ragnow? That's the only question. At what point do you start, looking at this draft? Do you look to find a center that you can start prepping to be a center? Maybe they probably think maybe they can prep Sorsdale or Manu into a center. I doubt Manu because how big he is, but maybe Sorsdale. So yeah, these questions is gonna be pretty freaking interesting in my opinion, man. So yeah, man, I don't have an issue with it, but they haven't gotten better. This team has not got better. They haven't addressed certain things, and people say, well, they're gonna make a trade. They're not. This is the Lions. The whole thing about it is this: they've gotten better for the future. They've gotten better for the future. I think they're banking on being healthy, and that's a bad thing to bank on. That's a frugal thing to do. It's just a frugal franchise. And what's so funny, me and my coworker was having same conversation. He was like, just think about the times where the teams got over the hump. Philadelphia added Saquon Barkley. When the Pistons won it in 2004, they added Rasheed Wallace, and my E40 boy. So yeah, you gotta just look at it from that standpoint of view. But it is what it is, man. But I like the pick. I like what they're doing as far as for the future. But people better temper their expectations next year. I anticipate a huge fall off next year. That's just my opinion. I anticipate a huge fall off next year from 15-2. I don't do projections. I'm not saying they won't make the playoffs, but it's still premature because they still can make some moves. But I don't see this team. I just, what they're doing, it seemed like what I think they should be doing is totally different from what they think they should be doing and what they actually should be doing possibly. But I think what they're doing is they're sewing up. They're padding depth. How we feel like they should go out there and get a James Pierce or move up and get Abdul Carter or find a way to get a trade. They don't feel like they need to do that. If we're healthy next year, we win it. I don't think that's the case because every year it changes. But it is what it is, man. Shout out to them. They can do as they please. I do like what they done for the future, but not if you're trying to make something shake and get over the hump into the Super Bowl next year. But hey, thumbs up the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel. The subscribe button is the bell icon button. Hit the link in the description. Follow me on X, Instagram, Facebook, Spotify, whatever else I'm at. Everything inside the link tree is the first link in the description. Peace.